I see Dimply now as a fantastic bookend to my career of having that legacy finance background, like that traditional background. I originally moved into the regtech space about 6-7 years ago, and now into the Fintech to really bookend technology and on top of an amazing career in finance to deliver what I really believe will be something pretty spectacular in the financial space.
Jac, welcome to the pod.
Thank you, Gary. Great to be here.
It is brilliant to have you here.
Thank you.
We've a mutual friend kindly put us together.
We do. A very, very special friend, Mr. Purdy.
He is the funniest man.
He's just incredible. There's many ways you could describe John, but he is just one of the kindest people. So knowledgeable, so caring. It's all about how he can help people. It's always about giving. He just gives his time so generously. Very lucky. I'm very lucky he's in my life.
He's the kind of people I love to meet because it shows you what's possible, number one, but also shows you how people at that level operate. I'm always like a little vacuum trying to pick up little traits, little characteristics, and just better habits for myself and better principles, I suppose. When you meet people like him, it's such an education because even how he introduced us, it was just bizarre.
I know.
Not bizarre, but just so bizarre in how he did it. The day previously, that morning, the currency revealed he had just sold his company for a significant sum. And he had texted me at the weekend. We were texting about football at the weekend. Both United fans, long suffering. And we were chatting over and back about football. And he just says, yeah, Grant, look, I'll give you a ring during the week. And I was like, yeah, Grant. And then I think it was Wednesday. I can't remember what day the news broke. It came out, the news broke. And I texted him and said, that is so cool. I'm delighted to see that. And he goes, I'll call you there shortly. I was like, hardly. And then I was having lunch with someone. I came out, missed call from him. I was like, kind of assumed you'd be a bit busy today. Yeah. Having like better things to do. He goes, no, it's great. We're up late getting the deal over the line. But anyway, now I want to know something else I want to talk to you about. It's like, why are you not out celebrating? And he's like, I have lots to do.
That's John. He's so humble, just so humble in every respect. But as I said, like given his time, but his belief in things as well. If he believes in you, he believes in you. And he'll go that whole journey and he has your back 200%.
But they're the kind of people I want to be around because like people can be quite transactional and quite short term. And you're like, my whole thing is I want to play long-term games with long-term people. And like Ben, I think Ben was, he was taking the piss out of me this morning about it. I was like, someday Ben, we're going to make it. And he goes, oh yeah. I was like, no, honest to God, someday it's just all about playing the long game.
Because totally. And about believing as well, Gary. It is actually about believing it because incremental steps get us to what the next is and the next. And it's believing, keep trying to achieve. John is a prime example as well as many others are, you start small, you have a long-term vision, you keep striving towards that strategy and the vision and driving towards it and anything's possible. But it's what you put into it really as well.
It is, but it's how you carry yourself and the people you collect along the way because I suppose I've done this quite a lot the hard way. I've done a lot on my own. It's really only the last kind of 2-3 years that I've kind of learned how to like ask people for help, I suppose. Yeah. Kind of just play that game of just like figuring out how to ask for help and how to like, help people as well. That's the biggest thing is like, how can I help you?
Yeah.
Like, how can I help you? Even if it's only a small thing, I got that sort of feel. Even if it's not something small. So I kind of carry that through now in everything that I do in terms of even if it's just sorting someone out a ticket for something.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Oh, yeah. And how rewarding it is. But, you think about our personal lives or professional lives, we all need help somewhere. And you're right, being able to ask for the help, but people are so willing to give as well. They're so willing to, like we are, like ourselves, you, me, Ben, any of us, you're willing to pay forward, what you can to support because we all traveled a journey to the point we got to. Many people helped us on that journey. And it's then how, what's the next steps and who we can help. It's kind of like, I describe it a little bit like with my children. It's the experiences we have in our lives help us frame us to be the best parents. There's no real one book on parenthood of what's the right thing to do. I'm blessed to have 3 amazing children. But they all are very different. And, whilst I think I rear them all the same, I didn't really, because there's nuances and uniqueness to them that require you to do things differently with them. And it's just exactly the same in our professional lives. But it's having those confidence, people around you that believe in you as well. And that challenge you as well. It's important to be challenged too. Like I don't necessarily, I'm sure you're the same, Gary, we don't necessarily want to have people that are yes. Like, challenge us in our thinking, challenge us on what's, the best way forward. And I don't mean about group thinking, but I mean just diverse thinking. So yeah, there's many ways you could describe asking for help. One is being able to ask it. There's nothing wrong with asking for it, because we all need it at some stage.
I think that's the thing. And you have to learn how to do that as well.
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing. You have to learn how to ask for help and how to, what do you do when you get it then?
Yeah,
You have to follow through. That's the big thing, is following through.
What? Let's break that down. So one, having the ability to ask and being okay to ask. Because sometimes we can see perhaps it's a weakness in asking something, and it's not, because we're learning. And whoever you're asking likewise is learning in terms of a process of helping, but exactly then the execution of what are you going to do with it. And I'm sure, like all of us, we've had ample opportunities where we've been paid forward some great insights, and did we really put them to play? And it kind of comes back a little bit to time. Have we the time to do it? So if you're asking of somebody's time, to help you with something, you got to make sure you have the time to execute it. And I'll put my hand up. I've had situations where I didn't execute in the way I should have had. And I would reflect back on it and thinking, okay, that wasn't what time spent. So I think reflection is really key in those situations. But in that reflection is, okay, what do I do to make it right the next time? So,
what are you working on right now? Because you've a very different background to a lot of people that sit in the chair.
What am I working on? Oh, wow, there's a million things.
There you go.
Where do I start?
Pick wherever you like.
Yeah, yeah. So our business, we're looking to scale the business. We're looking to scale across a couple of different regions.
What's the business?
So we're Dimply. We're a financial experience platform. So in layman's term, that's a no-code, intelligent customer experience platform. What do? We help banks, insurers, wealth providers, anybody really in financial services. We help them provide hyper-personalised customer experiences. So that could be an insurance journey, it could be a mortgage protection journey, it could be a wealth journey, anything, but that pertains to the individual that is basically looking for that financial experience. So it resonates at an individual level. So what's really key for me right now is scaling that business and scaling outside of Ireland. We're blessed to have amazing clients here, but really for our mission to translate how we want it to be, which is having as many people having Dimply in their hands that they have a better financial experience, means we need to go global, international. So sometimes people think that's easy. Oh yeah, you get a strategy, you understand what you need to do in those markets, but culturally in each of those markets can be very, very, very different. So the UK, MENA and the US are the key markets that we want to expand in. All three very different how they do business.
When you say financial experience platform, like, do people is Dimply an app, or do you sit within another app, or how does it work?
Yeah, great question. So we can be web or we can be app. So let me give an example. Right now we work with AIB Life, part of the AIB retail group, and we're embedded in the AIB retail app. So what does that mean? It means we're the front end for all of their insurance, life, investment products. We build all of those in a user-friendly way and embed that directly then into the AIB retail app. So it means if you're an AIB customer and you click on that link, it takes you directly to the AIB Life Hub, which are all of the products that they have to offer. And what that would mean if it was me and I was clicking on that, it would take all of my personal information they have to hand and resonate what's the right next financial experience for me at that point, and the next one after that again.
Okay, so it's kind of making them all smarter.
Yeah. It's helping us have a better financial outcome. And that's really, for me, something that's really, really important after having a number of decades in financial services, is having technologies that can really surface what resonates at an individual level to make the right informed decision.
It still feels pretty early in that, because like you've these two great kind of divides now. You've the traditional pillar banks, and then you've like the Revoluts of the world.
Yeah.
And again, you see how slick and how cool this is, and it really has made banking it's kind of like Deliveroo, Uber, Netflix. Like they've all kind of made things so simple, and they have some of the kind of legacy issues over here. So where do you kind of see that playing out?
So that's another great question. So in terms of playing out, demographically, we've obviously got all different age groups, needs, wants. For Dimply, what we believe is trying to get that hybrid, so that human approach versus the legacy kind of finance, legacy banking, with the the digital and the new era of it. So I think where it's going to play out is you'll have a certain demographic that will want the human approach and will want the legacy, want that, traditional banking, traditional speak to an advisor, give me the advice on what I need to do with my finances. And then you'll have an age group that don't want to speak to anybody, want a full on digital experience. So what we try to do at Dimply, or really what our mission is, and what the proposition we have, is you can have both. So you can have that digital journey, but you can break it at a point if you want to speak to somebody, or you can go all the way in your full digital journey and make your investment right the way without, your D2C, direct to consumer, without actually engaging. But again, we've just launched our new brand, which is called Ahead. And Ahead is what we call our anticipatory banking. And it's all around looking at the wealth space, the ultra high net worth, and the high net worth around, you've got the legacy heirs versus the new era heirs. And they think very differently. And if you look from a research perspective, it's in the high 80s. The research indicates that the new heirs won't be dealing with the providers of the legacy heirs, the legacy wealth. So they're the heirs of, wealth, but they very likely will not be dealing with the legacy. So if you think of traditional banking, and if that was to remain as we might understand it to be, like the kind of traditional finance over the number of years, that is not going to suffice for the new heirs. So the reality is there has to be that hybrid, or that ability that you can cater for all. And that's what we do at Dimply. We ensure that it has the ability to be the human first, but also fully digital if that's what's required. Okay,
so essentially you're kind of spanning both. You're trying to be the bridge between both.
Yeah.
How'd you get involved in Dimply?
How did I get involved in Dimply? My career, Gary, started back in the 80s in financial services. And I had a wonderful 3 decades, or nearly 3 decades, of working in financial services. I was always challenged with our inability with technology to really do what we needed to do. Now, I didn't have a technology background, but I was very lucky to work across the organizations I worked with great designers, great developers, and great product teams around what we needed to do. So I could design what we needed to do, but obviously I had no ability to engineer it. And one of my old mentors and boss knew I had a huge passion in technology and making a difference in finance. And as it transpired, the board of Dimply were looking for a CEO, had made contact with him. They're kind of part of a corporate finance unit. And he said, "Oh, I've definitely got the person," and put my name forward. And that was it, really. Dimply reached out to me. And when you talk about bookending a career, I back in the day, Gary, in my early 20s, I was like, I'm going to be retired at 55 and I'm going to live on my money and I'm going to have the best life. That hasn't happened, by the way. and we're progressing. But, I see Dimply now as a fantastic bookend to my career of having that legacy finance background, like that traditional background. And I originally moved into the regtech space about 6-7 years ago, and now into the Fintech to really bookend technology, and on top of an amazing career in finance, to deliver what I really believe will be something pretty spectacular in the financial space.
You don't strike me as a retiring, living on your money kind of person. I can't really see
definitely not
you
living on the
it.
money yet. But no, far too much energy to retire. So there's plenty of life left in me yet.
Yeah. So how did you think then about joining a company like Dimply? Because you've had an incredible career in the financial services space. So how did you kind of weigh that up, I think? Because I always ask people, one of my favorite questions is, because I think it's probably the hardest challenge for anyone when they're setting up business or getting involved in early stage businesses, knowing how to take that plunge.
Yeah.
Knowing that moment where you're like, I'm just going to have to go all in here and just try.
And I don't make decisions lightly. So I do my research. But my gut from the day they reached to me was, wow, this is interesting. And every time I spoke to the John Purdy's, the Jerry Hassett's, all of the wonderful people that were involved in the process, our chief product officer, Johnny Kane, was I was just, there was more of an energy. The energy that was flowing inside me was, I can make a difference here. I can be part of a difference. I can make a difference. But there was always that little element of fear of the what if. Am I the right person? Can I do this? Can I take them to the next level? So it was really doing that, the pros and cons of it. Like, is this right for me? Is it right for my family as well? Like at this stage of my career. But I knew I could make a difference, and I knew it could help me learn as well. It was a huge learning curve for me in some of this. So whilst I've got a fantastic kind of strategy and transformation background, you know, really at that stage of a startup that wants to go to a scale up and really grow up and hard decisions be made. So you got entrepreneurs who, you know, you're going to put some rigor and governance around what you do. So I had done all my homework with the team beforehand, was very clear on what my kind of management style was, my strategy would be, my vision, and how we'd have to make some hard decisions. And they totally bought into the journey. So that really helped me make the decision. What are we now? We're a year and maybe 8-9 months in my journey in Dimply. And there's not one day I've thought, have I made the right or the wrong decision? It's 100%, if not plus that, of it's the right thing to do, because I'm learning every single day. We're advancing significantly at a pace because we come together as a team. Dimply is all about the people, how we do this and how we do this together.
What was the biggest eye-opener for you moving from quite a traditional high-powered industry and companies to essentially leading a scale-up startup? Because they're two very different outfits.
Totally. So my background was all strategy, transformation, innovation, driving change. So all of that really was fantastic in terms of that bridging the background I had into a foundation of, okay, let's peel back the onion. Let's look at where Dimply is, look at where it needs to go to, and put framework around it. So it was an easy transition from that perspective. The hard transition was where I was expected to wear a hoodie. That was a real hard transition. I was like, no guys, we're going to break that rule. There's no hoodie. So just bringing a bit of light to it.
I'm with you on that one. I think that whole startup obsession with hoodies. I wear a hoodie to the gym.
Yeah,
I wear a hoodie
that's
on
it.
Saturday, but like, I just think there's this like, you don't have to wear hoodies, guys and girls. You can just wear your normal clothes. It's okay. I get it. Like, you're not a suit. I get it. You're trying too hard not to be a suit. Not saying you have to wear a corporate gilet, but just somewhere in the middle.
But Gary, a simple thing, like I grew up in the finance industry, so I grew up suited and booted. So you're kind of conditioned to that's how you are.
Like a suit of armour.
Well, yeah. Like I remember back in the day in HSBC when the casual Fridays came in, I couldn't adjust to it because I really couldn't because I wasn't working my optimal because I was in my civvies, I was in my jeans and my shirt or whatever. And that's kind of me in my outside of work life sort of thing. So it was...
That's funny.
Yeah, just adjusting, but I was kind of conditioned, was more to the point. But coming back to your question, in terms of Dimply, it's like anything, you know, for me, it's about what's the plan, what's the strategy, what's the vision, do we need to change it, get alignment in changing it, and then incrementally looking at what are the key milestones, how we do that, but most importantly, do it together. And I'm really, really lucky with the team at Dimply, like both my management team and the board. You know, they've never challenged me in relation to what the vision is, where we're going, how we do it. But it was a case then, okay, how do we do it? So like it's breaking all those down into key, you know, deliverables and achieving on those and measuring those. So that was probably something going into a startup stroke scale up was that, and it wasn't a casual nature, but it was that innovative around, it'll happen. But for me, we had to put some structure around it to be accountable, to be able to make sure, okay, we reach the next one by doing that. So it wasn't that it was a challenge, but it was bringing the team on the journey that we need structure around what we do, because now we're going to be a grown-up company and expand. And in particular, selling into financial services, you want to be able to stand by exactly what it is you're doing and build the trust with both the team that you're working with to do it, but also the team you're selling into.
I suppose you don't want to lose the DNA of the startup, but also equally you have to grow up and you have to evolve, I suppose. It's not about shedding your DNA, it's about evolving.
Yeah.
So give people kind of a sense of where Dimply kind of was when you're coming in and why do you think they brought you in?
So where they were when I came in, an amazing product. Absolutely fantastic product. Great co-founders that had an amazing innovative idea and founding team in terms of what they needed to do. So bringing me in was around scaling it, was around, okay, let's advance it further, because obviously I have a very strong financial services background. So let's advance further in terms of what that industry needs, and then how we actually take it to market in each of those.
How far in advance were they? Like, were they 5 years in business, 2 years in business? What's the scale here?
Three. So born during COVID.
Okay.
So just about 3 years. So really had a fantastic foundation, two enterprise clients live, and then basically looking at advancing the product further, together with then embracing one, new clients, and secondly, really creating a funnel that would increase the business and get us to where we want to be from kind of a evaluation and a strategy perspective. So that was really what the intention of bringing me in. So we had a little bit maybe more work to do than we thought in the early days when I came on, in terms of really understanding where the business was. So as I said, we peel back the onion, but at the heart of it all remained the same, right? So obviously there was nuances in maybe where we thought the business was, maybe in terms of where we thought the funnel from a sales perspective might have been, but at the heart of it was that core engine and those core people that were the driver behind it. They were instrumental. So nothing changed from that. It was really around, the circumference of all of that, how we adjust things to get us to that next level, but also getting us to what that ultimate goal is. So breaking it down, knowing where we want to get to, taking it back, and then taking the incremental steps of what we need to do to get those small wins that basically help that one step further to the wider ambition, which is expanding globally and having as many people across the globe using Dimply to make better financial decisions.
You've been in a lot of leadership positions in your career. What's the key things you need to do when you take over like a new team, or you come into a situation like this? You're coming from a very corporate background into a totally different background.
Yeah.
What's the key things? Because the temptation, I think, for people is to change everything really quick. What were the kind of things you did or didn't do?
Yeah. So first of all, absolutely in any aspect, it's trust, it's building trust. So authentic, being truly authentic to who you are, letting them know who you are, what your style is, what it is you're trying to do. Are they going to come on that journey with you? I kind of describe it as a honeymoon period, like a 3 months. So I'm very clear on what it is that we need to achieve. Are we on the journey together? How we're going to do it? And a very open door policy. So if somebody feels, no, don't believe in this, or I don't agree with you, that they can embrace that with me. So absolutely, it's building the trust. It's allowing, so coming from that background, coming into, a startup scale up, is back to that agility, back to that innovation. It's really important to encourage that. So it's not about stifling it, it's about encouraging it, but putting a little bit of rigor around doing it. So getting the balance, bridging the balance between both, and clear communication. I mean, really clear communication. So for me, it's about open forums. I let the team know exactly what my style was, and I'm very much an open communicator. So open forums in terms of us coming together. Me as a leader, where I fail on something or I've made a mistake, is openly discussing that and what I'm doing to correct it. So providing a platform that it's okay to make mistakes, but we become stronger on those mistakes. So again, making sure people didn't see that as a weakness. They saw that as me being a clear communicator and encouraging others that it's okay if things are not going right. So building the trust, I think, a long way around answering that question, Gary, was around building trust, being authentic to me and the team understanding really who I am, what my values are, what I want to do for Dimply. But also, I very much advocate bringing your whole self to work. And I try to do that in how I, operate, how I deliver what I do. And that was also part of it with the team in the early stages of there could be a part of your personal life might be high rocks. It might be something amazing that gives this amazing energy. So bring that to work as well in a lessons learned type thing, or something that helps creativity.
Right.
So that openness of there might be a part of your personal life that could infuse an energy within the work environment. And I try to encourage that. So all of that was part of it with the team in the early days. Get to know Jac. This is who I am. the all-encompassing who I am, but this is how I plan to operate. Are we in this together? And I had a resounding yes from the team. Yes, let's do this.
So you set out really clearly, like, this is how I want to communicate. This is how I want to operate. These are my principles. You put all that on the table, was it?
Absolutely.
And how do you get people then to be honest? Because there's like what I want to say and what I think I should
That's
say,
right.
especially when they don't know you. So how do you build that honesty, I suppose, quickly?
Yeah. And I saw in the early days, Gary, we'd have the group together, and you might have nobody speak, only me, or you might have one or two. So then I thought, okay, how do I get engagement? How do I bring everybody on this journey together? So we have what we call a pulse call every Monday. And on that is everybody speaks for a couple of minutes. So everybody has something to say. So I did that from the early days on. One, make sure everybody had a voice, because that was really important. And secondly, and it was okay to challenge each other once we do constructively. And it's around energy. So like, what's my energy today? What's the plan for this week? Do I need help from my colleagues? And I started to see that engagement. Everybody bought into, oh, this is collaborative. This is about, we are doing this together. And now I speak very little on that. Everybody else speaks, which is great. And then it was one-on-one. So you would need to take people on a one-on-one, because you could see the body language as they were doubting, oh, is this just lip service? But that wasn't many. If I'm being honest, it wasn't many. And yeah, it was just making sure that everybody felt that they could tell me they agreed or disagreed. And then, it wasn't a case that I needed to adjust, but if I did need to adjust, because like everything for our audience, you have a particular style. I said it earlier about my children. There's a particular way of kind of adjusting to the nuance of your audience. And I would have to make sure I was able to do that, because you'd have introverts, extroverts. So balancing it in a way. So really it was the one-on-ones to get to know them better as well, which was really important. And then make the connection where we had similarities in either our professional life or our personal life that we might be able to build on. But it was really around the team on the journey with me. Do they believe in the vision and the strategy of where we're going? And then clearly measuring how we're doing that, so everybody could see the impact they had on doing it. And it was a celebration then. Everybody had celebrated the fact that, yeah, we're actually getting, you said you were going to do this. Maybe, is it a better way of describing it, like walking the talk? So I say something and I prove it by doing it, and then prove it by the team doing it. So like, again, I'm blessed to be the CEO of a great organization, but I am the CEO. I have an amazing team that we all do it together, and it is that team that's achieving it.
Are you remote or office based? How did you do this? Because I'm listening to what you're saying there. I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, but I'm always curious about the tactical part of it, because I think we talked about this over our coffee. Like, the world's in a bit of a funny space now after COVID, because some people are doing, I go in 2 days a week, and then some days I go in no days a week, and there's this real flux, and I'm seeing a real tension, especially when the economy has been tough the last 6 months. The last 2 years was really interesting. I'd ask everyone the same question. Oh, what way are you figuring out the remote work thing? It's great. Yeah, we're in Tuesday, Thursday. It's great. And it's only in the last 6 months that I've noticed that tension creep back in as people start to panic a little bit, going, oh, things aren't going well. And when things aren't going well, human nature is, I'll just go back to what I was doing when things were going well. And they're pulling people back to the office. So what way are you approaching that?
So we're remote first. So that's our approach, remote first, because we've got people in different countries. It actually works really well, really, really effective. But the but being, we do find coming together, in particular, a couple of us, a couple of days a week really helps. So one, it's kind of an energy, it's really, you can get through things much quicker. But in particular, our CTO and CPO, they come together at least 2 days a week, because they work really closely with each other. In terms of, the design and the roadmap from a product perspective, and then the actual build. So it makes more sense that they would be together a little bit more. We find the energy when we come together as a team, as in collectively, all of us, pretty profound, because whilst you're on, and we're all the time on Slack or Teams or kind of Zoom calls, we're all the time on those. That level of engagement is definitely not the same of when you're in person. But from our business operations, it's working very, very effectively, really effectively, the remote first. Probably now we're expanding our team. So we've just hired 2 more, we're in the process of hiring 2 more. We likely will look to maybe come together, maybe not mandate, but they have the option for people to come together maybe 2 days a week if they so wish. But it's purely just from that energy of engagement. Like I was saying to you earlier, Gary, myself, I find working in my home office, I love it. I get so much done. But when I come to the city, the energy I get from even just seeing people and sometimes the mayhem is quite infectious. So, and it does change my thinking. It does, modify my approach to things. So yeah, we'll stay remote first, but have the optionality if people want to come to the office, we'll do that.
I think that's the future.
Yeah, it definitely is.
I think more so like hubs and more so like, weekly hubs whereby people come together like Wednesday, Thursday or Thursday, Friday, or whatever it is. I think that definitely is the future because it's exactly like you say. There's that energy. We could have done this on Zoom. Would it be the same? No. Could we have like a weekly meeting where we check in on each other? Yeah, of course we could because you've got that relationship.
Yeah.
But we still probably need to see each other once a month, once every 2 months just to keep the relationship alive.
Yeah.
It's very different. I think they do different things. I think what's been the problem is people have tried to take the office culture and just move it directly online and have all the same stuff. And how is everybody? Blah, blah, blah. It doesn't really work like that. 'Cause you need the serendipity.
Yeah.
And you captured their perfect energy.
Yeah.
Energy in the room, like the buzz, like how's Jack feeling today? I can kind of tell by your body language she's a bit funny and bringing your whole self to work. Like, I think that has to be both, right?
Yeah.
Because in person, you can kind of go off on tangents. Like me and you at a coffee earlier, went off on about 20 different tangents. Like, because you can.
Of course you can.
Because it just sparks, oh yeah, I was going to say that. Whereas online, you're kind of just sitting there and you're like, no, it's not finished.
Yeah.
I'll unmute myself now. It's so weird, but it's great for like keeping things moving.
That's right. Or you might overspeak somebody because there might be a tiny slight lag, and then there's that, you're apologizing for overspeaking, and then it's kind of like, well, I didn't overspeak, So the momentum, and in particular, if it's a larger group. So I say we come together, all of us, on a Monday morning. And then obviously subsets, but that's the really important call. Start of the week, how's everybody's energy? Do we need help with each other? If we do, if somebody's energy is low, I kind of mandate somebody pick up the phone and check in on them. See if we can do something to help each other, because we're our work family, so it's really important to do that. And it could be just that a bad weekend, or it might just be, I'm just not feeling the best today. But the energy of somebody else making that call, whereas you don't get it in a call with maybe 16 people on it. You're not getting it, and somebody feels...
And you can hide.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it, Gary. There you have it. You can hide. And for me, it is around us all being so cognizant of the fact that we can only do this together, and the wheel turns with all of us. But if one of us is slightly off kilter, how can we help them? The cog in that wheel needs all of us. And if there's something one of us can do, or maybe more than one of us can help with, in particular when you're remote, it's really important.
You talked about bringing your whole self to work. I think you said you lived through three decades of financial services. Yeah. You've seen a lot in a very, I would say, male-dominated industry. Yeah. Would it be correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you've seen a lot of change, both good and bad. How have you kind of like evolved, I suppose, your thinking as to like bring your whole self to work and kind of like this whole world, even in the last 10 years, the world's fundamentally shifted.
Yeah.
So how have you kind of like, I suppose, how has your leadership style evolved over that time?
Yeah. So for me, bringing your whole self to work is all around having the best culture you possibly can. And when I say that around culture and whole self, it is around diversity of thought. It is around being as innovative as possible. So how do you get that? You get that by diverse thinking. So whether it's male, female, whether it's just different backgrounds, but it's that ability to be able to, I guess, not have a common voice, but every voice being heard. So yeah, I did grow up in, my career grew up in a pretty male-dominated industry, but I was very lucky, Gary, and I don't say this lightly. I was very lucky to have worked most of my career for very strong males who absolutely had an appetite to make sure any female that worked with them had the opportunity to succeed. And that's across the three very large organizations I worked in. But again, for me, it was around how I applied myself. The grit, the determination, the hard work, combating the fear, sitting in that room full of really strong males around a board table was like, I need to combat this. How do I do this? So it was been a really self-aware, first of all. and then take the learning from that awareness as well, and the learning from what was around the table, and all of that in my toolbox as I became that leader and as I became that person managing teams globally. Having a team that, one, I think in terms of like that, male, female, and that balance, maybe, I don't know if it's the right thing to say, but when I say balance, I mean in terms of diversity of thought. So it isn't just about male, female. It is around the innovative thinking. It is around somebody can bring something that potentially can change the bottom line. It is somebody who has a very different view on maybe how we are thinking from an innovation perspective. So it's the cultural, it's the kind of people side of things, and it's the financial side. If I bring all of that together about bringing your whole self to work, is you could have somebody who has a fantastic background, but they might be an introvert, and they're sitting there thinking, I can't speak out. Don't want to speak out because I'm not comfortable doing that. As a leader, having that awareness and knowing that you've got somebody who has a brilliance and who can't do it in a forum. So you giving them the tools to be able to do it is one. But secondly, mentoring or coaching them to have that voice to be able to do it is another. And it's around having the right people in the organization that'll help the organization flourish is really ultimately what you want to get to.
How do we get more female voices around that table though? Because especially tech and finance, it still is, to call a spade, pale, male, stale, right?
Yeah.
They're just, it is. And you look at, like, sometimes I turn up to events and I look up and I'm like, oh Christ, I'm doing a panel with 4 other dudes and we're all white. And we're all Irish. You're kind of going, it's a numbers thing. I get it. We're a small island, blah, blah, blah. But this has to be a cultural shift. So how do we do that? I think is the most important thing, because we can talk about it all day long, but it's about tangibles. How do we get more strong female leaders around that table?
Great question. And how we do it is that we just need to shout from the rooftop is the reality. So something I've just introduced in Dimply in the past couple of months is a Women in Technology kind of accelerator, return to work accelerator. And it's exactly on that basis, Gary, looking at how do we get more females who might have taken a career break, in particular mums. Look, I've been there. You go on your maternity leave, you come back and your role's a different role. So first of all, you're coming to terms with leaving, your child, and then you're coming back to a whole different role. That's really difficult. It's really difficult. So it's around having schemes and programs that are encouraging, first of all, that return. So mums that might have taken, or females, not necessarily mums, might have taken some time out to care for family members, or maybe time out to go and study, and then coming back. How do we get them back? So we've created a Women in Technology Accelerator program. It's twofold. One, for the females to return back into the tech space. And another, which I'm very passionate about, Gary, is students. So you got students in university who are working in coffee houses, no issue with any of that. By the way, Pizza Huts, wherever you name it, they're working to basically, one, get experience, but secondly is to earn some money. And I'm thinking, there's such brilliance out there. Why don't we encourage them to come and work part-time with us? So we actually had our first student join us a couple of weeks ago from University of Limerick. And what I want to do is try and help frame, well, maybe as they're making the decision, she's in year 1, she's in her first year in university. So as she's deciding on her career, it might be in fintech or regtech or something in the tech space, because she's had the appetite of, she's had the ability to work with us that's helping give her an appetite if it is for me or not for me. So a little bit more of that encouragement. I think there's great programs out there. There's fantastic kind of industry forums that allows it. But I think it's us in the industry, it's the organization. We need to make the difference. We need to be advocating for more females or more diversity, whether it be from those, unique backgrounds that come to the table. So it isn't because I'm a female that I want more females working with us. I want a diverse team that can really challenge our thinking, and females will do that. In no question will do it. And I want the innovation to be that I want our culture is around innovation and authenticity at Dimply. And that can only come by being authentic to ourselves and having a diverse team around us. So it's incumbent on me as the CEO to make sure that I do that, that I provide avenues and platforms to do that. So we have another female joining us on the 1st of December who took a small career break and is now coming back in. So again, I think if there's more of that, that's where we get it, and that's where it expands. And that's, again, the confidence in the industry together with both the tech and the finance is providing the platform to let these females shine.
I think that's so practical, because often there's these big kind of like a lot of hand waving. A lot of hand waving goes on. Oh, let's start a new scheme. Let's start a new back thing. And you're isolating women further by just putting them in this little group over here, going, oh, no, you're going to go in this little group together and you're all going to be together. It's going to be great. Whereas that's tangible. Like the burden does fall on women a huge amount when it comes to like childcare or even caring in general. Like you said, it doesn't have to be kids. It can be other. There's so much pressures put on and so much demands. But when you think of the level of talent that is lost when people do step aside, and then it's like you're gone forever. They come back and they're like, things have changed a lot. And where do I fit in now? So being able to bring the level of talent out there is outrageous.
Oh, it's phenomenal. There's no question. I actually met somebody, Gary, on the street a couple of weeks ago that I worked with about 7 years ago. And funny, we met each other, we recognized you, and you know that thing, I can't remember the name, couldn't get the name. But actually she had taken a career break and she was going for her first interview after a number of years, but the confidence in her. And I said, I wish you the best. She goes, I just can't wait.
Amazing.
So there was this energy, instead of this fear of, like the world has moved on, it was, no, I'm ready for this. Yeah. And generally we are, we have that ability to really be able to multitask, running the home, traveling, working, personal life, you name it, helping elderly parents. We are pretty good at doing it. So, we need more of that kind of diversity of thought around our tables, whether it's a board table, Gary, a management table, or whether it's around the lunch table at work where people are just shooting the breeze. And that's sometimes where some of the best ideas come.
Did you have to sacrifice to climb as high as you did?
Did I have to sacrifice? Yeah. Yeah, no question. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't. I mentioned earlier, blessed to have three amazing children and likewise a fantastic husband that's been a huge supporter. My children are big achievers in the sporting world and have all been on the international side of basketball. And that came with obviously a lot of needing support. So, as a young couple, Damien and I had to make a decision on, okay, somebody has to be around. With my career and my travel and, been around, not been around, and last minute, you're dealing with clients in other regions, you didn't really manage your schedule to the extent you might like to. So it did come with sacrifices, but those sacrifices were around clear communication within the family group. So everybody knew. It was something I worried about, Gary, when I was younger, thinking, when the children get older, say to me when we're sitting around the dinner table, well, you weren't there for that. Thankfully, it's never been said. Thankfully, it hasn't. Now, I did beat myself up once. My son was playing for Ireland and I was in Luxembourg and I was snowed in. I couldn't get back. I was due to be back for the game. I think I cried the whole flight back, Gary, of just me kicking myself of I needed to be there. But it didn't bother Dylan in the slightest because he had his whole network of the rest of his family there. But that sacrifice, and I guess that maybe planning to be there and not being able to be there. So when circumstances are kind of taken out of your hands, and it's then how you cope with that. So my coping with that at the time was I was out of my control. It was kind of a headwind came my way, which was really a snow wind. There was nothing I can do about it. But then it makes you realize there are things that will come left field that will hit you hard, that you have to be ready for. And as a parent, in particular, we had to make sure when we were making some of those sacrifices that the children were first, that our family life was first. And that's hard when you're a female with children and you had an aspiring career. It is hard to balance it, but I can only attest to having an amazing husband that stood with me on the journey and was massively supportive, together with parents and parents-in-law who were there to support us. And luckily enough in my career as well, in most of those organizations, they got it. They knew as well I was a mum. So, if there was something nuanced and we had to make a tweak, there was an ability to do it. So that definitely helped. But I think what's important to note here, there's no question there is sacrifices to be made, but you got to be comfortable with making them. You got to plan for them. And then if you get that kind of side wind, tailwind or headwind that hits you hard, is how does that make me stronger for the next one? So when I look back at myself, so, you say, look at myself 20 or 25 years ago, would I make the same decisions and those sacrifices? And absolutely I would. But would I change maybe my approach to one or two of them? Yes. But reflection is key.
Did you ever feel judged?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, very much so. In many respects, Gary, in terms of decision making, when you'd be sitting around a large table of very, very accomplished individuals, and you might say something, and it's the body language the reflection, the viewing the body language was. And I'm very self-aware, always have been very, very self-aware. So I would immediately be like, oh, okay, what do I need to do differently here? But if I valued and I could kind of stand by and had conviction with what I was saying or what I was doing, I would go the whole 9 yards on it. But just back to the judging, being judged, I felt quite authentic to myself all the time. I think came back to my childhood of our parents was like, you got to believe in you. And I'd kind of manage the judging on that's somebody else's opinion, but I would take it, okay, do I need to adjust? Is there something I should be doing differently here? And if somebody gave me some advice in terms of that judging, I would take counsel on it, like my own personal counsel, say, okay, do I need to adjust? But I've had judging as well, which wasn't very fair. So then I would make the decision, okay, I need to discount that and I need to park it and leave it there and move on. So I'm a firm believer of what's happened in the past, Gary, happens for a reason. And it's down to me to take the learning to move forward, but never really looking back. So the looking back is only to take the learnings that makes things better for the future. Or to say, well, that's not going to happen again. But judging, no question, absolutely no question. Been massively judged over the years. I was quite young in my career when I sat at my first board table, and by some of my colleagues, I would have been judged with like, how did she get to that table type thing. But that to me that's their journey of understanding. For me, if it was me and I saw somebody, I'd be like, how do I get to that table? What do I need to do to get to it?
I think that's the difference between you and a lot of people, though.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people go, that's not fair. You're like, how do I knock a seat up to that table?
Yeah, exactly.
I love
how
that.
do I get in there?
You seem like a very decisive, assured person. That's why I was so, and thanks for the honest answer as well, by the way. It's great. Our female listenership audience, whatever you want to call it, is growing year on year. It's up to nearly a quarter listeners now, which it's not half, but we're growing.
Oh, it's great.
And we're going the right direction, which is amazing. That's something I'm quite proud of. But what would you kind of say to the people, the female founders, the female executives, the female CEOs listening for kind of that stage, maybe where they're kind of maybe earlier in their career? Either they're kind of like they're taking their first leadership role or they've done their first business. What are the kind of things you've picked up over the years where you're like, if I just knew these 2 or 3 things, it would have either accelerated things easier or would have made my life a little bit easier?
Yeah. So I think in any male, female, regardless, leverage the network you have. Right? We've got a network of amazing people around us. All of us have, regardless, whether it's your family, your colleagues, friends. So first of all, absolutely leverage that. So a little bit earlier, like about asking the question, should I ask the question? There's never a silly question. So leverage the network. In my earlier days, I think I might have tried to prove myself too hard, Gary. I think I might have felt in that male-dominated environment, was I overcompensating being a female? Be authentic and true to yourself. So I think I was probably in my early 30s, I realized, you know what you're doing, Jac. You know what you're about. You're learning every day. You're not afraid to say you're learning. So, just keep doing that. Be authentic to yourself. And where there's a fear, combat the fear. So understand what the fear is. Understand what's getting in your way, because in most times it's our own head that's getting in our way. So it's understanding that. And then the other thing on resilience, so I talk a lot about resilience. And in my younger days, I don't know if I truly understood what resilience really was, right? So
what do you mean?
Yeah, so as in, when something goes wrong, it's having that fire in your belly to get up and go again. Instead of like, oh, poor me, poor Jack, how did that happen? And dwelling in it's just like it spurred me to be better and better and better. So when something goes wrong or something doesn't happen maybe the way you expect it to, analyze why. I pivoted, I took the left instead of the right, but why did I do that? So do the analysis of how, because there's a lesson in all of it. And in particular in the resilience piece, for me, it is around dusting myself off and going harder at it again. And for me, it's what you put in is what you get out in anything. It's in your fitness, it's in your studies, anything. It's what you put in is what you get out. And it's a lesson we all have in all of our growing up. That's what all of our parents would have said. So
unfortunately not. I think a lot of people don't get that.
Yeah. And a lot
of people aren't. They're either forced too hard and then they rebel back, or they're not given that extra push to go, look, really try your best. I think that's the worst thing, is when you know you've more left to give, but you didn't fully give it, whether that was through lack of confidence or you just didn't know how hard. I mean, you were chatting about this over coffee. Sometimes you got to know how hard to push yourself. You got to know where the limits are, and where you go right into the red zone where you're like, I thought my limit was a 10, and then I met this person. It turns up the limit goes to 50. Yeah. You know, I had Dan Lawrence on a few weeks ago on the podcast, and honest to God, I learned so much from him personally and professionally. How he carried himself, how he acted, how he followed up after the pod, how he engaged me before the podcast. You kind of go, oh, there's levels. That's what I love about this. There's levels to this game. Yeah. And like you, if you're enthusiastic, you're always learning. Yeah. You meet these people and you're like, whoa, there's so much to learn if you're willing to.
Oh, every day, every moment of the day is learning. Like you talk about, the experience of others and the prep. You don't go out to run a marathon tomorrow. There's prep for it. There's planning for it. It's the same with all our careers. We start with this aspirations of, I'm here right now. Where have I come from? Where am I going? And it's then staying true to that. How do I get to it? How do I get to it? It's like running the marathon. You don't go straight to 0 to 42. It's your 5, your 10, your 15, whatever. And that's what our goals are about. So a little bit the same about females, males, anybody in their careers, like, where am I trying to go to? And really looking at what happened that I didn't get there. What do I do different? Why did I pivot? Why did I take the left route instead of continuing straight? And being comfortable with that. Or if you're not comfortable, making the change. But it's the awareness. Like, I can't emphasize enough, Gary, about the self-awareness. It's beyond huge. Now, you mightn't like it sometimes, but you got to take it on the chin and think, okay, that's why. So if I'm only okay with those results, it's because of this. But if I want to push to the red zone, I got to do this. Or if I want to achieve that next milestone, I've got to do this. And that might be just not you personally. It might be you bringing a team on a journey as well with you, or a group of people. And that can be challenging, but that's what you got to do if that's, what you need to achieve. So it's like, to attain something, you got to understand it, break it down into the kind of critical success factors, and then knock each one of those down and get to them. And then it's the wow moment of, we've done it.
Can self-awareness be taught? Like, do you think you taught yourself that, or do you think you were born with it?
I think you're born to an extent with a little bit of it, and then it comes through experience. Like, it's like, I think of my parents, when I was growing up, and when something would go wrong, or I did something I shouldn't have done, and they challenging me on that. Like, that's helping me with my self-awareness, like really understanding, owning it. And likewise, have you had a situation, Gary, when you've said something, you think, oh, why did I say that?
Oh, all the time. All the time, Jack.
Absolutely. And
probably this morning.
yeah. But then again, it's that, like, I used to think years ago I had good self-awareness, but until I start maturing a bit, I realized I didn't necessarily have great self-awareness. I do a huge amount of meditation. I love yoga. Those kind of things get me in my head, and being in your head is really important because then you really understand you.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like loving people. Can you really love others unless you love yourself? But you really understand yourself first. And I was probably in my 30s before I really understood the real professional Jac. I think I understood the personal one really well, but then getting that whole self together, getting the balance, between both. So back to your question, I think there's an element of the self-awareness is how you're kind of reared and how you grow up, and there's part of it, but how do you nurture it? So it's there. Like all of us, you hear things, somebody said something, you think, oh, I knew that, but it's brought right to the forefront, but it's back here. We knew it. So the self-awareness is dusting it off and owning it and thinking, yeah, okay, I did that. I said that. I shouldn't have said it. Do I want to apologize? Or do I just want to make a change for going forward? But it's for our personal toolboxes, whether it's in your personal life or professional, self-awareness is one of the key. Like people talk about negotiation, influencing, communication, having all those in your toolbox. Self-awareness is absolutely key. Knowing your audience, knowing how you conduct yourself with that audience, owning if you said something you shouldn't have said, or owning if you didn't say something you should have said as well. So it's an experience, I think, and it's as we're progressing and meeting people and taking the awareness of those people. Like I was at something recently, I was frantically taking notes. I was down in Carlow, a business summit, and I was frantically taking notes on my phone of some of the key words. And when I went home and looked at the words, I thought, there's not one thing in that was new to me. So why did I feel I needed to take notes of all of those? And the reason I did, Gary, because they were all right back here. I knew them, but they were way back here.
Refresh.
So it was that little refresh. And they were just words, but I did a little mind map of the words. And ironically, the majority of them are in my everyday vocabulary that I wasn't really thinking about. So my self-awareness there was, I'm so used to doing some of these things that I forget that I'm doing them. So it kind of brought me back, okay.
The awareness piece again.
Absolutely. They were maybe a little bit more reflection at the end of the day or at the start of the day. And, I talk about reflection, but was I really doing it? And that brought that awareness to me. So yeah, I think partly learned, partly you're born with, and the combination of both, but it's you're the core. So it's me, as my self-awareness, I decide how I'm going to enact that. Is my belief.
I think that's really powerful because you do get caught up in your day to day.
Of course you do.
Life's busy and your kids and you've this and you've that and the other. It's constantly reminding yourself of. It mightn't be new information, but sometimes you're reading, you're like, oh yeah, I kind of forgotten to keep that front of mind. It's keeping all this stuff front of mind. You referenced something a couple of times there as you were chatting about it earlier. I want to kind of bring it up. Clear communication. This sounds like a really obvious question, but assumptions are the things that kill so many relationships. They kill jobs, they kill prospects, they kill. And you talked about it in terms of your family, but you seem like a very clear communicator just in general. How do you hone that skill to say what you mean what you say? They're the people I really like to be around. How did you hone that?
Very early in my career, when I was dealing with clients abroad, and working in American multinationals or global multinationals, I was very acutely aware of my Irish accent, how we say things, very much so. So I realized I would say something and that would mean something quite different somewhere else. But I had that awareness in terms of that. So that made me very conscious of how I say things. Do I follow up in writing? Was it actually understood? So that's the key as well. The channel you're using, is it understood? So from that perspective, I started really, okay, has my audience, and it might even just be one person, but did they understand what I said? And from there, it was, and never assume. So we've all had those mistakes, haven't we, Gary? We've all had the mistakes if we assume something and then that assumption blew up and either you missed a deadline or something wasn't delivered on the basis. So when I talked earlier about governance and structure, very much in particular where you're delivering to clients or you're delivering in financial services, all based on trust. So if you're communicating with internally or communicating with a client, you've got to make sure the mechanisms around doing that is understood. So whether it's, as I said, it's the channel, so it could be a ticketing system and it's very clear, this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to do it. Or it could be a service level agreement that you have with the client or whatever the case might be, but be concise in what it is you're saying, but very much so make sure your audience understood. So I think it's structure, it's governance, but it's also body language. And that's come up a couple of times today, Gary. So if somebody's frowning as you're saying something, you're like, they don't have a clue what I'm saying. So they're not getting me in that. So it's getting the clarity, did you understand? But not asking, did you understand? But it's making sure the message was delivered, that there's a key action or takeaway, that it's understood.
Do we avoid confrontation in Ireland? Is this an Irish thing? Because as you were saying that, I was like, yeah, that's very Irish. Yeah, that's very Irish. Like all the stuff you were outlining at the start, kind of going, yeah, we just kind of say things. We'd know what we mean, but if you listened to someone at that table over there who was not from Ireland, it wouldn't look absolutely. I will, yeah. That's totally different. You've no intention of doing it. So how? I suppose in Ireland, how do we get better? How do we get bit sharper at the comm side of things? Because we have a tendency to say a lot, but not actually say the thing.
Yeah. You've got to come back to an analogy from my dad years ago, and I have to practice it a lot, actually. It's around, we have 2 ears and 2 eyes and 1 mouth, and we use them in moderation. In terms of, as in, listen more, say less type thing. But in the listening and the saying is the execution. It's around actually doing it. And execution is key, Gary. I really believe in anything. It's a little bit whether it's a reformer or Pilates, high rocks, you name it. We say we're going to is doing it. It's the very same in work. So we say we're going to do A. We can't do B without doing A, but yet we'll try to do B not having completed A. So the execution is key. And I think we I'm generalizing, but communication can be very much underestimated in terms of, we see it. We need to look at world negotiations, how things can be misinterpreted, and how things can go terribly wrong by, what leaves my mouth and what's received by your ears is quite different. So that's why the channel of communication, the method of communication is really important. But the execution of, if it's an ask, is just pivotal. And that comes, I think, around rigor, around governance, and around kind of methodologies and frameworks in doing things. And any business, regardless of whether you're a startup or scale up or very established, need to have robust routines to be able to evidence what they're doing, why they're doing it, and ultimately how you get to the end goal is by all these incrementals. So for me, a long way, again, I'm sorry about answering your question, is on the communication side here is how can we get better is by actually executing on what we're... So I talked about walk the talk. It's, as leaders in particular, you've got to evidence what you're saying in doing it. So I can't say to my team, I want rigor, I want KPIs, where are they? If I'm not providing KPIs in terms of what I'm doing. So that's it. It's lead as you intend and have the team do what you intend them doing by watching you actually doing it.
You're a very modern leader in a kind of a traditional-ish space. I know it's fintech, but it's still finance rooted. Yeah. Dennis O'Brien famously came out last week and was very anti-remote, very anti kind of the new generation coming up. I think that kind of gets wheeled out quite a bit now because people love that headline.
Yeah.
How do you see people who are kind of coming into the early stages of their career now, and they might be 22, 23, 24, coming out of college? I think every generation thinks, oh, this generation is different. I don't agree with that at all. But how do you see that as an employer and as a leader in terms of how can people who are at that age equip themselves with the skills and the ability. I think communication is the one you said there, and I think that's without a doubt. I think communication is going to be so important, and it's only going to get more and more important, because especially as we move towards a remote world, what are the other kind of key things you look for as an employer, but also just as a leader and as a person, for like younger people in the early stages of their career, or even like, let's say it's another startup that wants to work with you? What are the key things that are kind of green flags for you?
Yeah. So there's many. So let me try and hone it in. It comes back a little earlier when I talked about diversity of thought, is around having that variety and differences around a table that we can all learn from. So that's one that's really key. And the college students right now, I'll tell you a funny story about our Pulse call on Monday. So this new student that we have join us, she's amazing. We do the energy levels. She came in at a bit of a lower energy level on Monday, so I was kind of slightly surprised. And she followed up, which put us all into erupting into laughter. She goes, "Well, I'd be a 10 if I had had my breakfast." Now, so my point of addressing that is, if that was somebody in the team who had said that, we might have viewed that quite differently. So I love the energy of, I'm new to this team. I'm coming in bold and brave with a lower score, but I'm telling you all, if I had time to have my breakfast, it would have been very different. Now, I embrace that difference because she's part of the team and we want that difference. I want somebody to be able to say, I'm not feeling great because I'm hungry, right?
Did you get people to rate their energy? Do you give them a number?
So they rate. And the reason we rate the energy is in case they need help.
Okay.
So for example,
I'm like, "Hey guys, I'm at a 7 today."
Yeah. So then somebody will pick up the call and say, hey Gary, you're not great today. Can I help you?
Okay.
Is everything all right? Do you need me to help you? I can deprioritize something to help. So that's really
right,
why we do.
I get it now.
Because we're a small team. So it's around, and as well, energy, as we said earlier, can spur each other on. So if Jack comes in at a 10 today, that might spur somebody else on going, well, crap, she's a lot on our schedule. So if she can be a 10, like, I can boost myself a little bit. So it's kind of a morale booster. But sorry, coming back to that generation is, it's the world is vastly changing, vastly in every respect. And we need to adjust to that too. We all need to adjust to, do I need to think differently? So because my value system, my belief system is this, well, actually, maybe I might be informed a little bit better, or I might think slightly different if I'm hearing an 18-year-old versus a 50-year-old. And that's the diversity of thought I keep coming back to, Gary, because that's what's keeping me sharp. That's what's helping me be the mum I am today, being the sister I am today, and being the CEO I am of the organization, or a friend, is because I'm learning so much from so many other people. And I might not always agree with them, by the way, is the other thing, but I'm deciding what I will or won't take in. Yeah. So I met actually at that Carlo event I was John Purdy introduced me to Dennis actually. So ironically, we bring Dennis into the conversation, but I had an old boss just before COVID, did not agree with remote working, did not at all. I was trying to introduce it into our company. No, didn't happen. And in fairness to him, when we went remote, because obviously COVID hit, we had to, he put his hand up and he was like, perfect, we transitioned perfectly, which we did. But again, he had an assumption we wouldn't transition and maybe people wouldn't work, effectively from home, or were we going to trust they would do what they need to do? So it nearly had to happen for him to believe it. So for the Dennises and my old boss and everybody else, the world is moving pretty rapidly. And for me, I need more of that. I need more of that diverse thinking. I need more of that somebody who wants to, work remotely, somebody who wants to think differently, because that creates all the most amazing innovation. That brings us all thinking differently, left and right brain kind of coming together collectively, coming up with different ideas. So personally, from my leadership style, I want more of that, more of the thinking outside the box, and thinking differently and working differently. We promote in Dimply, if somebody needs to take the kids to school, absolutely do that. We have our day jobs to do. Once we deliver to our clients and deliver at the highest level, we make sure that we have that flexibility. And I want to be able to promote that flexibility. Now, Gary, when we grow and when we get to a point, yeah, maybe we have to hone it back in again, but we'll do it while we can to make sure we can be as flexible as we can. Because unfortunately, or fortunately, as we might look at it, depending through which lens, that's the way the world is moving.
What's the next kind of 12 to 24 months hold for Dimply?
Bold. We've got bold plans. We really have. We're in pilot now with a couple of great companies in terms of taking them to the next level of their digital journey and them to helping take us to our next level. And absolutely expanding outside of Ireland. That's really, really key for us. We've made some fantastic advancements in our product on the AI side of things in the last couple of months, going live with some of that in January, and then rolling that out to our existing client base, and then obviously new client base, expanding the team further. Growth, just really innovation, growth, and bringing the team on the journey that they all believe in, and taking Dimply to its next level.
Cybercrime is exploding. Ransomware, phishing, AI-powered attacks, they're hitting businesses every single day. Most companies just don't survive a major breach. Nostra's Cloud Shield 365 gives you complete, always-on protection. Built on Microsoft Business Premium with advanced threat detection, 24/7 monitoring, and compliance built in. This isn't a nice to have anymore. It's essential. Don't wait until your business becomes a headline. Visit nostra.ie, that's nostra.ie, and get your business protected today. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to share a game changer for your business, Azure Communications. When it comes to print and marketing solutions, these folks, led by CEO Jenny Johnston, are the real deal. Whether you need an eye-catching brochure, sleek business cards, or a full-blown digital campaign, Azure Communications has you covered. They're not just about high-quality prints or digital campaigns, they're also about delivering great results. And here's the best part. Just for listeners of the Entrepreneur Experiment, you can get 20% off your first order. Just give them a call or go online and use the code VOX20. With personalized service and fast turnaround times, Azure Communications will help you make the impact your business deserves. Trust me, when it comes to making your brand stand out, Azure Communications is the provider of choice. Check them out at azure.com.ie. Use code VOX20 to elevate your marketing game today.
Quick fire round time. What book has the most impact on you?
Oh, Gary, there's many.
I know you're a big reader, big podcast consumer.
I love it. I love reading.
You can reference a few, like a couple of you talked a bit about changing thinking. Like what kind of ones made you go, okay, that's
well, actually, now the name is going to escape me for a moment because I'm on the spot. It's not Think Differently.
Is Adam Grant, is it?
Yeah, Adam. Yeah. Oh, super book. And you know why? Because I would have been one to say, oh, your value system is your value system and your belief system is your belief system. But the world we live in that's continually evolving and changing, he really made me think about my own belief system. And that actually does need to adjust accordingly. But there's many books, but that one in particular quite recently. But there's one going back years ago, Gary, and I say it a lot. Maureen Gaffney. It's a book called Flourishing.
I don't think we've had that one before.
Oh, it's just a fantastic book because it's about allowing people the ability to flourish and giving them the ability and the platform to flourish. And I don't think we emphasize enough around how brilliant we can all be if we flourish. So that book, and I think I've read it a couple of times, is just an amazing book about self-awareness, about us as managers, leaders, and us as individuals, how we can flourish and how we can help others in particular flourish. So that's a really good book.
What's your superpower?
What's my superpower? Oh, Gary, I don't know if I have a superpower.
Don't go all Irish on me now. Come on, you're a very decisive person. You definitely have a superpower.
Oh, you've caught me on that one. Wow, stuck for words, Jac Dunne, hey?
We can come back to that one if you want.
I am really stuck, seriously.
We'll come back on that one.
What's your superpower?
I don't know. This is my podcast, Jac. I don't get to get put on the spot.
You might influence my thinking.
Exactly. What daily habit is the secret to your success?
Very, very, very much, and it still is all the way through from my early days, even before my career at school, is planning. It's around what am I going to do? So it's not just the day, it's kind of the week. So understanding what's happening.
How do you do it? I'm a massive planning nerd. So how do you do it? Break it down for me.
You know, it's actually really simple. So it used to be pen and paper. Now it's digitally. So basically I start Sunday night, ritual every Sunday night is what's my priorities this week? What do I really need to do this week? And where do I need help on doing that?
How many do you have?
I keep it neat, right? So it's probably 3 or 4, but they might branch into different because it might be multiple things that help do that. But the key around doing it is, and I share them with my team. My team, unless it's something sensitive that can't be shared, it's open. So we use Notion and we openly put our priorities in
Notion.
there. Yeah, I do. Absolutely.
I still use this. This is my primary.
Yeah.
My black moleskin is my primary, but everything goes into Notion.
Yeah. So for me, it's around that, because I think when you think with ink, right, even though it's digitally, you see it, it happens. That's my old school thinking. It's kind of, that's just how it works. So I'm holding myself accountable, and there's nothing better than that, crossing it off, putting it through, it's done. I've done that. But if I didn't do it, Gary, if I wasn't that planning and methodical in doing that, we live busy lives. So it's not just my work. Like I've notes for the personal as well, what I need to get done. You'll forget things. We're human. We'll forget them. So if I'm trying to achieve that end goal and I don't break it down into all these incremental parts, how do I expect to get to it? So the planning is really important. So that's been a ritual. I'm a firm believer in breathing exercises. So I do a lot of that. So my very, very early morning routine is about 3 or 4 minutes of breathing just to get in my head properly. And set myself up for, what the day is going to bring. So they're small rituals that very much help and support both my mental and my physical health, if I'm being honest, in terms of how I get through each day and each week.
So I ask this question to everybody of founders who are in the similar area. I'm going to give you €1 million. You can invest in one person or one company. Who would that be?
God, I'd have to say it'd be Dimply.
Can't be yourself.
In the last couple of weeks, I've come across some amazing medtech firms. I mean, amazing. And in particular this week at the AI Awards, only yesterday actually. And there's some really young, and I mean really young, entrepreneurs that have the most amazing ideas, in relation to the advancement of AI in terms of being able to identify brain health issues, strokes. I unfortunately can't name the companies because I can't remember them. There were so many, but it would be one of those I'd pick. I think they were ingenious. These young individuals putting their time into creating something that's going to make a difference, in particular to our society through better health and identifying these issues earlier. So if I was to be given $1 million in the morning, I'd pick one of those.
What's been your worst investment?
Oh, God.
It can be money, time, anything.
What's been my worst investment? God, Gary, my worst. I don't know if. Yeah, maybe it might be time actually. So I said to you earlier, time is really important to me. And it always has been, not just now that I'm of a certain age. I treat time like a currency, like it's very, very valuable. Where I would have volunteered my time in terms of coaching people or businesses, and they really didn't take heed or didn't, value that. And it wasn't really until much later you discover that's a real challenge, because you think, wow, what could I have done with that? So that, and it's a tough one. Is it really, is that the worst use of my time or like a wrong investment? Time is critical. and you know, we need to be cautious with how we spend it, and be very mindful of who we give our time to, you know, to make sure that it's been utilized. So there's been a couple of where I've got stung with, you know, giving up a lot of my own time and my family time to help others, and they not necessarily use it. So that's probably where I'd apportion that to.
In a brighter note, what's been your best investment?
Oh, what's been my best investment? There's a few. One might be my time when I volunteered with Basketball Ireland. I went in as chairperson of Basketball Ireland for 4 years. So the organisation was in financial turbulence. And I went in with kind of a strategic and financial mindset of helping support and get an amazing support back up and running. That was a huge amount of my time and significant dedication in, you know, in a stage of my career was very important, and my children likewise at a stage that possibly needed their mum a little bit more. But it certainly was a really great investment of my time, because I worked with a very diverse group of people, from grassroots right the way to the board, but collectively achieved something quite significant, taking the organisation from being in the red to black, and now watching, you know, other great leaders in the sport taking it to the next level. So yeah, that would have been a really good investment of my time.
What's one of your principles or thoughts that people really strongly disagree with you on? I've
always had the view about everybody has a voice regardless. And people have challenged me on that, to say, well, no, there's a time and a place for certain voices. And that to me comes back to the audience, knowing your audience. So I would argue that, okay, but you know the audience, you know when you can or can't say something or speak. But for me, just that equality around everybody has an opinion, has a voice. And yeah, and I've been challenged on that. I've been challenged actually quite a bit in relation to, no, don't necessarily agree with that, but I still firmly believe, I still do, and people have tried to argue with me on that. But for me, yeah, everybody has a voice and opinion, and we need to consider all of it to get to what collectively might be a better work environment, might be a better home environment, and might be a better world that we all live in.
I love that. I love when people have a decisive answer for that one. It's important. We need people with decisive.
You might have given me some of these in advance, so I could have thought about it.
No. This part of it is in the reaction. I want you to tell me your real thoughts.
Yeah.
And finally, what's the best bit of advice you've ever given to someone or gotten yourself?
So the best advice I've ever gotten, it's really which I kind of pay forward, and I've said it a couple of times today, Gary, is around being authentic to yourself. And it is around trying not to be somebody you're not, but try to excel to be your absolute best. And it honestly came from our parents. My parents were just the best in terms of that. Very simple, nothing crazy or scientific around be authentic to yourself. And that to me comes back to that whole self-awareness, knowing who you are, where you're going, what you want to be, knowing who's in your surroundings that can help either hold the ladder for you or help you climb that ladder. So that's the advice I got. And that's the advice I always pay forward. So absolutely, I tell my children all the time, watch your surroundings. Your next best career move could be somebody standing right beside you. So just the self-awareness of you, where you are and where you're going, I think. And the world honestly is your oyster then, because it could open any opportunity.
I love it. What a way to finish. Jac, where can people learn more about you and Dimply?
So Dimply, our LinkedIn profile, perhaps, or my profile, or our www.dimply.ai is our website. But yeah, LinkedIn is we're pretty profound in terms of updates there.
Lovely. Jac, that was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me, Gary. It's great to be here.